Every day is Christmas. When amplifier parts arrived, we can continue working on this unit. I have some electrolytic capacitors and resistor that I require. The quad cap for the filter. And the power transformer for the unit. The exact power transformer required, as a matter of fact. I'm going to need some nuts and washers, however, for this. Let me run and get those. Seems as though that this nut is going to be Imperial, and I don't stock Imperial, so I'm going to have to go down to Ace. So the folks at Ace have hooked me up with the right size nuts and washers. We can see right here. So I'm going to purchase them now. Set me back just a few cents. We'll go back home and we will mount this in the cabinet. And this only goes in one direction because the wires are offset on here and there's a hole that allows these wires to go through, and that's on the top as the cabinet currently sits on the bench. And the first step simply entails getting the wires through and out of the way. Now I have the transformer properly seated, and each one will get the washer, the lock washer, and the nut. There we go, now it's hand tightened in. I've had to use a couple different various methods here to tighten them down fully for each one, given the space, but I've succeeded. They're all tightened and in place now. This transformer is installed. Let's lift up the amp here and have a look and see what it looks like now. Finally, after all these years, having two of the same transformers, two of the proper transformers now in place. Obviously, the first thing we see is an immediate aesthetic improvement over how this amplifier looked like when it first arrived. Right, so here is the new transformer. It just covers the drilled hole over here, like you could just barely see. You know, that's just good enough. I'm gonna have to get some caps, like I mentioned. It just doesn't clear these two right here, so those are gonna have to be covered with some sort of chrome caps. There's just nothing to be done about that. I'm not removing a previously burned out transformer. I don't have a transformer to work with. So I went online and pulled the information about this transformer, and using some basic reasoning, figured out what's going where. And luckily, as with these setups, when I do this, removing the tubes, we can verify that everything is good from these test points as I slowly introduce a little bit of AC voltage and check that everything is correct, right? So we would expect that 6.3 volts is going to be the heater, right? And 5 volts is going to come along to this side of the rectifier, and this is going to be the voltage going into the rectifier on this side, right? This all is pretty simple stuff, so I'm going to wire it in accordingly. I've completed the first run. I've pulled it out from under here only so that it could be seen. This is the 6.3 volts going to the heater circuit, right? And I've made it just long enough so it tucks nicely under here. Now I've added to this the high voltage yellow going to the rectifier, and I pushed that under here now. So I want to talk about this red connection for a moment. This is the 5 volts going to the heater to the rectifier, and you'll notice that there's an extra service loop in here. And the reason that I did that is I had mentioned in the first video that there's these 10 ohm resistors, and these resistors are not found in the original schematic. But because it appears to me to be original to this board, I believe that it was simply not added to the schematic, but added to this unit after the fact, right? A running change. And for that reason, I've left enough length that if that's the case, I have enough room to swing this over to the rectifier if it is in fact not the case, and I find out that I'm not getting enough voltage, right? So as it stands now, I'm connecting it like this, and if I see that I'm getting good 5 volts out here, I could always cut this shorter and make it more permanent. But for now, I'm leaving service loop, and this basically comes out 5 volts through these resistors, goes through these wires here and into the rectifier. So I did a little more work here. The first thing I did is I cleaned up all these switches on the bottom. I removed all that crap that was in there. I made an error in what I had mentioned before, so I wanted to clarify this. That red-yellow cable goes up to the standby switch, right? And that standby switch comes up here to that plug, right, on pin 5. And here it is connecting into this tie-off, and that tie-off goes to this switch. Again, temporary connection until I verify everything is right. You can always make cable shorter. It's a lot more difficult to make it longer. So I've done that. This is for the main side or the primary side of the power transformer. It is tied off just as a tie point. This was the old noise switch for the 2-prong power plug. We're not going to be putting a 2-prong in. It's going to go to 3-prong. So that's all this is being used for. This switch is going to have no purpose anymore. And I've cleaned off this side of the switch. This is the actual on-off switch, right? So the neutral and the hot will connect to these over here, and then I will have a ground that will go to one of these nuts. I'll choose one, right? And that will complete the circuit for the power, right? The death cap has since been removed. And the other side of that primary goes right here to the fuse, right? And that completes the circuit. But I'm not ready to put in the power plug just yet. That part is easy. I want to use this available space I have before this big cable goes in to replace that electrolytic capacitor, because this thing is not going to be turned on anyway with this old cap in there. And this cap again represents another thing that's not original to this amp, is incorrect and possibly was wired wrong, right? So I can't just do a direct swap out. I'm going to have to make sure the wires are correct, trace them back, and then ensure that this correct capacitor is installed properly. Telltale sign here is the 22K resistors touch the 20 microfarad capacitors, where we could see that the 40 comes straight off the rectifier with also that 1K 10 watt resistor in place. So that's how we could distinguish, tracing back those wires, what connects to where. This brown cable right here that is going to the capacitor on the top left, right? This is the half moon, is coming right down here, and it's tying off at the top of this resistor. It's coming straight off of this rectifier. And that means that this half moon right here is supposed to be 40 microfarad connection. And that is the direct connection off of the rectifier, the first one identified, right? And that is shown here. So I annotate that and move on to the next one. Bottom left, right here, this red cable, right, is tying off right here on this resistor, and it comes down and meets the other side of this 10 watt resistor, which tells me that it is on the other side of here. This is the other 40 microfarad connection. So I've identified that, and if I look at it, that is the one with no insignia, right? And on this one, it's going to be the square. Now, in order to verify my work, make sure I haven't screwed up, I'm going to continue on and do the 20 microfarad ones, and if they ring out, I know that I've got everything right, so I'm going to do that now. See this cable right here that I'm tapping? This is the top left of the current capacitor. On this capacitor, it is the square, and we can see that it is going to this 2200 ohm resistor, and that tells me that that is the 20 microfarad, and that is correct. So on the diagram, I will mark that one as triangle. And finally, the bottom one we see right here is going to the other 22K resistor, and on that one, it is triangle. On this one, it's blank, so I'm just going to mark it with a dash. And now I have mapped out the strategy for replacing this old capacitor with the new one. So now I'm going to do that. I've removed the nuts that hold in the capacitor. I simply need to unsolder this one short ground connection. I'll be able to pull it out the back and do the work from the other side. And some of this stuff looks like it was soldered with a cigarette lighter. It's absolutely dreadful. There we go. Pulled out the back. Once pulled from the back, I was able to snip off all of the old connections. I still need to remove this mount without damaging it, because the new capacitor will go in this mount. And there we go, caps removed from the mount, and that is the last we'll be seeing of this. New cap is installed in the mount, and now we'll put it back in the amp. Finally, the new capacitor is installed, and now I'll just rewire everything to it. Now all the connections are on the capacitor. Everything is ready to go. I'll swing this back into position now. Very nice. The next thing I'm going to do before I forget is replace this 1.5K resistor with the correct 7.5K resistor that should be there. I have that now in the correct rating too. I don't know what this is. This is enormous, but I'm just going to desolder that and put the right one in. That was easy. Now the correct resistor is in place. Now I'm going to remove this old 50 microfarad at 50 volts right here. And that capacitor is now replaced. Next, I'm going to replace this old electrolytic capacitor. And now that capacitor is replaced. I believe that concludes the electrolytic capacitor replacements in this unit. But it doesn't conclude the electrolytic capacitor installations in this unit, because according to the schematic diagram, there was a 20 microfarad 500 that simply never existed, right? And because this thing was so butchered, I couldn't tell you with any certainty if it was a running change where they got rid of it, or if somebody removed it and never put it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie off pin 4 6L6 with this capacitor that I have, this 20 microfarad 600, and we're just going to install it. I made a temporary run here. I want to talk about it right quick. This is the 20 microfarad connection off of pin 4 of the 6L6, right? So pin 4 ties off right here up top, goes to the first 6L6, ties off to the second 6L6. The other side of this goes to ground. And the reason why I did it like this, obviously, is I want to test it first before I cut the leads in a permanent way. So this is just temporary. Make sure it works, and then I'll do a permanent solution. So I've brought in the cable for the power cord. I want to make some immediate changes here. I want one side of the power cord going to the fuse link as close as possible. So I'm going to start removing this, bring one side up, back around, and we'll see the modifications I'm going to make. I'll come back when I'm done. So this is what we got. I'll explain. We can see that the black wire comes in, goes into the fuse. It comes out of the fuse, and this black wire, again, makes its way all the way to the bottom. I'll explain why it cuts across at the end of this. From this switch, it uses this old noise switch as just a standoff, right? And it goes through this short length of wire here, right, into this side of the power switch, comes out of that side of the power switch, and basically goes into the transformer. So the power switch completes the circuit from the black cable to the transformer. The other side of the transformer connects directly to neutral, right? So in turning on the power switch, you connect the circuit. Talking quickly about this black cable right here, why it goes the entire length. There was originally, a long time ago, apparently, where this board is empty, a thermistor that is no longer here. And it used to go from the fused connection here through the thermistor and then down into this area. I now have a thermistor to go in here, but until I could accurately measure what the current draw is, I can't install it just yet. I need to take some readings here. So I'm leaving it out. I've put this long cable in its stead, and I will revisit that later in the project. Also, I have cut to size. This is a ground. It's also soldered, and it's going to go on this lug over here. You'll notice all of the cables, again, are larger because they're not permanent yet. Until I see it work, I don't want to cut any cables too short. I can't make them longer. But this I'm going to tie down now. Now I have the ground secured in the lug over here, and that's going to be the ground's final position, obviously. We're now going to conduct a few tests with my electrical work here. First test will be chassis ground. And that one is good, as we expected. Next one will be continuity through the primary winding, through the power switch. And we can see that power is on, or we hope that power is on. I'm going to have to shut power off. We'll try again. There you go, power's off. So it's good. We're ready to rock and roll. So now I have the amp in the upright position. The power on the amp is on, but it is connected to the variac. The variac is currently off. There are no tubes in the amplifier at this time. This would be where the rectifier is and the other tubes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this opportunity to check all of the work I've done on the transformer by measuring all of the expected AC voltages. But I'm going to use fractions of the expected output voltages. I'm not going to turn this on to 120 volts. I'm going to turn this on to a low voltage and take a percentage of the expected output. So let's get started now. So we're running at 1/3 of the power AC, 40 volts in and around. Let me check. Yeah, we're running at about 40 volts AC right now, just for testing purposes. And I'm going through here. I should expect, obviously, a little bit higher, as there is no load on this transformer at all. Right, and I start with the rectifier on pins 2, pin 8, and I could see about 1.7, right? And that is for the 5 volts, right? So that looks good, okay? That's the yellow wire, okay? And I move on again to the next one is pins 4. 1, 2, 3. Pins 4 and pin 6. And I see 237 volts. And again, that's fine too. That's going to be high. There's no load whatsoever, right? So I know that that's in the correct location. And then the green one makes its way all through the rest of the sockets, depending on which ones it is, right? So I'm just going to tap off of one to say it's sufficient, since the tie point is only one location, right? So I'm going to say pin 2, pin 7, and I can see 2.1 volts. The other red wire only goes to the standby switch, and there's not going to be any expected voltage on the center tap. So I'm thinking the voltages look okay. I'm going to dial it up off camera to 80 and 120 and take a look at the voltages. Again, with no load whatsoever, the expected 5 volt is showing 5.44 at 120 volts. We're seeing 6.99 for the 6.3 with no load for the heater, and that's good. And then finally the rectifier. And the rectifier is showing, wow, 763. Again, no load, but everything is wired correctly for this. We could start with our next tests. I think most importantly is when I shut the power switch off, there's no AC going into the amplifier. So there we go. There's a good test. I've installed the rectifier tube in the chassis, turned the variac back to 0 volts, and I'm going to slowly bring this up as I monitor the DC voltage coming off of the rectifier. We're going to do that now. Now the voltage has to get high enough that the rectifier turns on, so it's not like it's slowly going to come up. I have to reach a threshold here. I did not see the rectifier voltage start to climb, so I immediately shut it down. And what I did was, and this is always the easiest way for me, is basically just to isolate it. And you should always be very careful doing this. I've removed the rectifier from circuit. That is to say that the rectifier is still in. It should generate DC, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's just floating, right? And when you do this normally, you should disconnect it from the other side of the rectifier so you don't have a floating high voltage. But in this case, that the pin on here has seen so much action that I wasn't going to break the pin on the tube socket for doing this. So this is what you would call I weighed risk against damaging the amplifier. So I'll be careful, and then I'll put it back and I'll move on to the next thing. So here we go. And I can see that the rectifier tube is glowing now, and we will check. It doesn't look very hot. I only see 5 volts coming off of that rectifier here. So it took me a while to figure this out, and the reason is because I'm missing a piece of the amplifier is not here, right? And what we have, even though I have the standby switch components in place, right, I'm missing this whole top section here, right? I look at the circuit and I just see everything's here, but it's not. This piece is missing. And what happens here is that when standby is connected, it goes through pin 5, right? But then within the speaker is a jump on the cable. And that jump connects pin 5 to pin 7. If we look at pin 7, center tap goes to ground, right? That's what was missing. Now, without having center tap to ground, there is no DC on the output. And we can see right now that I'm measuring off the filter cap. I do not have it up to full voltage yet. I'm slowly making my way up there, right? And I'm looking at right now, idle is 0.5 amp. Let me get it up to full voltage, and then I could give the accurate numbers. We're at 88 volts, so everything is safe. By the way, all of the tubes are in, right? So the voltages I'm giving now is fully loaded in idle, volume down, out of standby, right? I do have an 8 ohm speaker in here, so it's not just sitting there unbalanced on the finals, right? So let's get it up to its old school voltage for now, right? We haven't made any internal adjustments here. And I don't know if the new transformer is designed for 120 or 117 yet, so. So here's the 1960s voltage. 117 and change, right? And I'm seeing on the first filter, right? This is just the filtered rectified voltage. Nothing's dropped yet. 414 volts of DC. That's good. That mystery is solved. Just a very quick inspection. 374 and 410 on the plate of the 6L6 is not far off, right? Not terribly far off for those. So I'm thinking there's nothing exceedingly disgusting going on in the power supply right now. So I definitely didn't do anything with regard to wiring in the wrong locations, right? So I'm going to evaluate this. I'm going to check. I'm going to look up some numbers, and then I'm going to, again, re-verify. The complicated thing about this is I didn't pull out a broken power transformer. I pulled out what was no power transformer or a wrong power transformer and had this entirely rewired. And I have to make sure that what I'm putting into this amplifier is correct.